So sometimes recognition takes a really long time to arrive, especially for genuine heroes.
That's so true. And the story we're looking at today is a perfect example of that. Delayed honor.
Exactly. We're diving into the life of Yeiki Kobashigawa, an American hero from World War II.
Our main source here is a great article by Katie Lange. It's called Yeiki Kobashigawa, Delayed Honor for Heroism.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to really, unpack his story from his beginnings, his service, the incredible bravery, just unbelievable stuff.
And that decades-long wait for the full recognition he deserved.
Yeah, the Medal of Honor story. It's quite something.
It is. We'll trace it all, his early life in Hawaii, the really unique circumstances of serving as a Japanese-American back then.
Well, especially during World War II.
Right. Then those specific moments of valor. They're quite detailed in the article. And finally, how that highest honor eventually came about. It's quite a journey.
Okay, let's jump in. Yeiki Kobashigawa, born September 28th, 1917 in Hilo, Hawaii.
But his family moved to Waianae on Oahu when he was pretty young.
And life wasn't easy. The article points out a really key moment when he was only, 12 or 13?
Yeah, around that age. His father got sick.
So young Yeiki, he drops out of school, had to help support the family.
Started working on a sugar plantation. Hard labor.
That detail right there, leaving school so young, it really tells you something about his sense of responsibility, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Long before the Army. It shows the character was already there. Duty, family.
And the article mentions, despite the hard work, he loved baseball, found time for it.
A little bit of joy, right? In what sounds like a pretty tough upbringing.
Yeah. So that sense of duty, it leads him to the Army eventually. He was drafted November 1941.
Just think about that timing. November 41, he's assigned to the 298th Infantry Regiment, part of the Hawaiian National Guard.
And then, just weeks later,
December 7th, Pearl Harbor. The article says he was actually home on leave that morning, getting ready for a baseball game, believe it or not.
Wow, baseball game. Then the alarms go off.
He rushes straight to Schofield Barracks. Reports for duty, like any soldier would.
But this is where things took a really sharp turn, right? Because of his heritage.
Exactly. The article is clear. Shortly after he gets there, they took his rifle away.
Imagine that. You're reporting to defend your country, and they disarm you.
Purely based on ancestry. It was this immediate wave of fear, suspicion, aimed at Japanese Americans, the Nisei.
Yeah, the article explains Nisei means American citizens born here, but of Japanese descent. They were suddenly suspect.
Initially, they were even barred from service altogether. And soldiers like Kobashigawa, already serving, they were pulled from their regular units.
Segregated, moved into units like the Hawaiian Provisional Infantry Battalion.
Right. And that battalion, the article notes, moved stateside by mid-42, became the 100th Infantry Battalion.
The famous One Puka Puka.
That's the one, later linked with the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. But it's crucial to remember, these were segregated units.
And these soldiers, they felt they had everything to prove, didn't they? Their loyalty to America.
Absolutely. They weren't just fighting the Axis powers, they felt they were fighting prejudice back home too, through their actions.
An incredible burden. So the 100th Battalion ships out, North Africa first, August 43.
Then straight into the fight in Italy, September 43, attached to the 34th Infantry Division.
And that Italian campaign, notoriously brutal fighting.
Incredibly tough. The article mentions Kobashigawa himself was wounded several times as they fought their way up the peninsula towards Rome.
Wounded multiple times before the actions that earned him the highest honors.
Yes. Which brings us to June 2nd, 1944, near a town called Lanuvio, Italy. This is where the article details his most extraordinary actions.
His unit, Company B, hit a wall of enemy machine gun fire, just pinned down.
Intense resistance. Kobashigawa spots one of the nests, about 50 yards out.
50 yards under fire is a long way.
It is. And what does he do? He doesn't wait. He starts crawling forward. Alone initially.
Crawling towards a machine gun.
Throws a grenade. Then, while another soldier lays down covering fire, he charges the position. Submachine gun blazing.
Just charges it. That takes unbelievable nerve.
He killed one enemy soldier there, captured 2 more. That first position was neutralized.
An incredible feat. But that wasn't the end of it for him that day, was it?
Not even close. The article says almost right away another machine gun opens up on him, about 50 yards further on.
So he'd just taken one out and immediately faced another.
And again, he takes initiative. He directs the rest of his squad to move up to the position they just took. Protection there.
And then?
He moves forward again, towards the second nest.
Unbelievable. Does he charge this one too?
This time, Slightly different tactic described. He throws grenades, gets closer, but then provides cover fire for his comrade, who charges in and captures 4 enemy soldiers at that second nest. Teamwork under fire.
Okay, 2 machine gun nests down. Surely that's...
You'd think. But the article reveals shortly after that, they discovered 4 more enemy machine gun nests still blocking their path.
4 more. After taking out 2 already. The intensity is hard to grasp.
It really is. And what does Kobashigawa do? He leads a squad to take out 2 of those remaining nests.
So in total, he was instrumental in neutralizing at least 4 enemy machine gun positions in one engagement, leading from the front under constant fire.
Sustained action. Incredible leadership, initiative, and pure courage over several hours, really. It's just staggering.
And actions like that, repeated by many in the unit, are why the 100th Battalion and 442nd became so highly decorated.
Absolutely. Among the most decorated for their size and length of service in U.S. history. But, and this is a key point the article stresses.
National Medal of Honor.
Exactly. It was largely withheld from Nisei soldiers right after the war, despite countless acts of valor.
Only one Nisei soldier, PFC Sadao Mori, who died in battle, received it initially.
Right. For Kobashigawa's incredible actions on June 2nd, he received the Distinguished Service Cross, the DSC.
Which is the nation's second highest award for valor. Still a huge honor, but...
But given the circumstances and the comparison to other actions awarded the Medal of Honor, you see the discrepancy that people later recognized.
So, the war ends. He comes home to Hawaii. What then?
Like so many of his generation, he just resumed civilian life very quietly.
The article mentions he worked as a maintenance mechanic for Hawaiian Cement, got married to Haruko Miyashiro, had a family, 2 sons, Merle and Floyd, and a daughter, Jill.
And very tellingly, the article notes, based on his obituary, that he rarely, if ever, spoke about the war.
So quiet about it that his own kids didn't know about his DSC.
That's right. They didn't find out until the 1980s, decades later.
How did they find out? Did he finally tell them?
No. Get this, his son Merle found out because Merle's daughter, Yeiki's granddaughter, was on a school field trip.
A field trip? Where?
To Washington, D.C. And she apparently saw her grandfather's name on a display somewhere related to military honors.
Wow. Imagine learning about your quiet dad or grandpa being a highly decorated war hero from a museum display.
It just speaks volumes about his humility, doesn't it? He wasn't looking for glory. He just did his duty and came home.
But eventually, there was this push to correct the historical record, right? Regarding the Medal of Honor for Nisei soldiers.
Yes. The article calls it righting a wrong. In the 1990s, Senator Daniel Akaka from Hawaii sponsored legislation. It pushed for an official review.
A review of the DSCs awarded to Japanese Americans during the war.
Exactly. Acknowledging the discrimination they faced and asking, basically, should some of these have been Medals of Honor all along?
And the review found that yes, in many cases, they should have been.
That's right. The review looked at 52 DSCs and 1 Silver Star awarded to Japanese Americans. They ended up upgrading 19 of those DSCs, plus the Silver Star, to the Medal of Honor.
A major correction. And this led to that ceremony in 2000.
June 21st, 2000. A very significant day. At the White House, President Bill Clinton presented the Medal of Honor to these Nisei veterans or their families.
7 members of the 100th Battalion were among them, and Yeiki Kobashigawa was there.
He was. One of only a handful, I think, who are still alive to receive it in person. He would have been in his early 80s by then.
After all those years, finally getting that ultimate recognition.
But here's maybe the most amazing detail reflecting his character. His son Merle shared this.
What was it?
His father, Yeiki, initially didn't even want to go to the White House ceremony.
You're kidding. The Medal of Honor ceremony?
Nope. Apparently, when the Army contacted him about attending, his response was something like, just put the medal in the mail.
Put the medal in the mail after everything he did, after waiting over 50 years. That level of humility is just almost incomprehensible.
It truly is. It wasn't about the pomp or the ceremony for him. Maybe it was just enough that the honor was granted, the recognition itself.
Wow. Just wow. He passed away a few years after that, didn't he?
Yes, sadly. March 31st, 2005, back in his hometown of Waianae.
He's buried at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu. Punch Bowl.
A fitting resting place. And the article adds that his Medal of Honor, it's now displayed at the National World War II Museum down in New Orleans.
So his story, his courage won't be forgotten. It's there for people to learn about.
Exactly. Preserved.
So when you step back and look at this whole story, this deep dive into Yeiki Kobashigawa's life, what does it really tell you about heroism, about facing down prejudice?
Well, it underscores that incredible perseverance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bravery on the battlefield, yes, but also the quiet dignity in living through that discrimination and then living a humble life afterwards.
And it shows how history sometimes takes a long, long time to get things right. But the effort to correct those past wrongs, it matters. His story is just so important.
It really is. It reminds us that courage comes in many forms and from all corners of society, and it wasn't seeking the limelight.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Consider that profound humility. A man faces death, endures prejudice, waits half a century for the highest honor.
And then suggests they just mail it to him.
What does that tell you about the nature of true valor? About what really motivates acts of incredible bravery? Something to really reflect on.